My sister read my secrets hidden in the drawer and decided to tell the whole family at Sunday dinner, laughing as my mother's face turned to disgust and my father demanded I leave their house immediately. Claire stood there with my journal in her hands, reading my most private thoughts out loud while 20 relatives watched me crumble. But what she didn't know was that I'd been documenting her secrets for 6 months, and the folder on my laptop would destroy her perfect reputation far more thoroughly than she'd destroyed mine. I'm Ethan Moreau, 22 years old, and 3 hours ago I sat at my parents' dining table surrounded by aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents for what was supposed to be a celebration of my college graduation. My mother had prepared her famous coq au vin. The house smelled like rosemary and wine, and everyone kept congratulating me on finishing my biochemistry degree. Claire, my 25-year-old sister, smiled sweetly at me across the table, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her engagement ring catching the light as she reached for her wine glass. She'd always been the golden child, Harvard MBA, junior partner at a consulting firm, engaged to a surgeon, everything our parents had dreamed of. What none of them knew was that Claire had broken into my apartment 2 days earlier while I was at my graduation ceremony. She'd used the spare key I'd stupidly given her months ago for emergencies, and she'd gone through everything. My desk drawers, my closet, my bedside table. She'd found the journal where I'd written about struggling with anxiety, about feeling inadequate compared to her achievements, about questioning whether I even wanted to work in pharmaceuticals like our father expected. Private thoughts I'd never intended anyone to see. The betrayal began right after my father's toast. He'd just finished praising both his children when Claire cleared her throat, her voice carrying that particular sweetness that always preceded something cruel. Speaking of Ethan's future, she said, pulling a leather-bound notebook from her designer purse. I think everyone should know what he really thinks about this family. My stomach dropped. I recognized that journal immediately, the one I'd hidden in the back of my drawer beneath old textbooks. Claire, don't— Oh, but Ethan, she interrupted, opening to a bookmarked page. You wrote such interesting things. Let me share. Her voice took on a mocking tone as she read aloud. Sometimes I look at Claire's perfect life and feel like I'm drowning. Nothing I do will ever be enough for Mom and Dad. They look at me and see disappointment. The table fell silent. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. My father's face hardened in that way that meant he was furious, but controlling it for the guests. Aunt Patricia gasped softly. There's more, Claire continued, her smile widening. Here's a good one. I don't even want to work in pharmaceuticals. I hate the corporate world Dad loves so much. But how do I tell him that without proving I'm the failure he already thinks I am? That's private, I managed, my voice shaking with humiliation and rage. You had no right! No right? Claire snapped, dropping the sweet act. You've been secretly resenting this family while we paid for your education, supported you, celebrated you. Everyone deserves to know who you really are, Ethan. A spoiled, ungrateful child who— Enough. My father's voice cut through the room like a blade. He turned to me, his eyes cold with disappointment I'd spent my whole life trying to avoid. Is this true? Everything she read? 20 pairs of eyes fixed on me. My grandmother looked hurt. My uncle shook his head. My younger cousins stared with fascination. The walls felt like they were closing in. The room suddenly too hot, too small, too full of judgment. It's from a private journal, I said, hating how defensive I sounded. Everyone has doubts.